So I want to go through a couple of visual examples just from previous classes. Again, I do visual examples of digital essays, not so you can model the requirements because every semester is a little different. The digital essay requirements are a little different every single semester. Mostly because I also just kind of revise and make choices based on what's going on that semester. So you want to use these to think about how a digital essay could look and choices that they're making about their writing situation. So, and I kind of explained why I picked this one. So this first example shows some digital design elements. She wanted it to look a little bit more like a magazine article. So it goes straight down in the columns. It's a very clear kind of unified tone. It's visual, but it's also very professional as well. So she did a good kind of balance, bringing everything together and making everything very, very unified and clear. Let's see this one. So this is a digitally enhanced, what I would consider just an academic essay. It's very visual, very visual. So I picked this one because this is one of the more I would consider fun ones. You know, it's clearly about horror films. And so we'll talk about some design choices that people made later that like worked, didn't work, things like that. But for now, I just want you to just kind of see some ideas so you can see when I say you're writing a digital essay, what that looks like. So you can see this is some sort of, I always have people ask this is some sort of organ that reminds me, I don't know why, of a Freddy Krueger movie. So her sections are in these boxes. Then she's got the cool little gifts and that kind of stuff. This is a little bit older, so some of the videos and things aren't there anymore. But again, like just getting some ideas here. Let's see. So this is definitely like a entertainment, like media-based issue. So when you're thinking about, you want to think about whether or not the issue you are looking at, like what's appropriate for that issue. So this is clearly about horror film. So designing it very visually makes sense if you're thinking about, if you're writing about music, literature, film, that kind of stuff, writing about things that are in the media, writing about news, things like that, making it visual is very appropriate. All right, so example 3, I think this one is non-linear. So like once you get into, so she's talking about like health geography, so health kind of in different places. So, and I really liked the way she did this because it's very much like how you would see a web page designed. And what I mean by non-linear is it doesn't go just straight from top to bottom. You do not have to do that with a digital essay because it is digital, so you can use what's available to you, even in terms of how you order things. So just from introduction to here, she's got some maps. She uses the arrows to kind of show you where to go. And I really like this because she almost designed it very kind of map-like she's kind of walking you through that. So I thought the design here was very cool and matched her topic. And again, I did point that out, like visual elements are kind of just inspired by the issue itself. Oh, sorry, it went rogue again. Okay, example 4. When it's done thinking. Okay, so this is actually the first essay that we looked at in this essay are actually previous winners of first-year writing awards for research writing, for inquiry writing. So you're welcome to look at these as examples of like how to do some stuff. Okay, so hers was clearly about children's literature. You can tell like she wanted it almost to have like kind of a digital book feel because of the issue, and I think she did a really good job with a lot of her design. Go to the next page of the essay. She used, you know, like fonts and spacing and images, played with some different things to like draw your attention to certain places. Definitely has that book feel. She used hyperlinks throughout to take you to like information about people, not just like her sources, but did a really good job with using those. And then when you get here, you can click on different books and read commentary about each one. And in some of them, I believe she has some design elements as well. So you get the idea. Sorry. All right. Example number 5. This is another non-linear, sort of digitally enhanced kind of academic essay. The other one did have a little bit more of like a website feel to it. When you're working with like more, I guess, academic-based essays, non-linear can really, work out well. Here's another one. She has it just kind of designed in parts, and as you click on each part, it takes you to that piece of the essay. And you can go back and kind of click on another part, or you can kind of scroll through this way. I believe this is another non-linear one, if I'm not mistaken. I didn't read it. Oh yeah, human trafficking. So this one does have it is linear, but it has some non-linear elements, I guess. And again, she used some fonts to like draw attention. You remember when I said human trafficking, like pink would not be an appropriate tone? This is an appropriate tone, I feel like. So she uses like, her like listing and images, and she breaks up and just kind of focuses on telling some different stories and things like that. So you can kind of see how it works and some things you can play with. You see these look very different from each other, and that's also sort of the point, is that you have a lot of openness. Sorry, I had clicked the wrong one, the same one again. And a lot of freedom. And I guess if you look at this one also, it is more of a web article, like what you might find, like a typical sort of design article that you might find online. The goal here is to raise awareness. So it does look almost like it could be an essay on an organization webpage. So essays that are more focused on like raising awareness, proving that something is, kind of convincing people that something is like a big problem. Like sometimes these types of essays, like web articles or web pages, can work really well because they're also very visual. This is a digital magazine on fashion, and she did use some components of that genre here. She didn't do the columns on this one, but she still made it look very much like, even down to the font, and using like the letter at the beginning of each section is a very sort of typical feature of the magazine articles. So again, like everything sort of fits. Last one, and I'll probably pull up some other examples and throw some other ones in some point later. This one, I know, like this one is just a standard, like what I would consider like an digitally enhanced sort of academic essay, but it also like definitely like this was about like chemicals and cosmetics and being green and paying attention to like what you're using. So it was the reason for some of the design, and she, of course, because of the issue, wanted it to look more professional. Okay, and I'm going to throw in some more kind of examples as we go. I have a lot, again, with the idea of being like knowing that it can look very different and that you have to choose really what your audience would like. We'll go through like choosing message and audience first, and then you have to think about what sorts of text your audience would read. If they are reading magazines, an academic essay is not going to be appropriate. If it's a super like dense academic issue, a web article might not be appropriate. Or a web page might not be appropriate. I've had people do this as like a series of news articles. I've had people write them as blogs. Like I've had people make their own videos and include them in their essay. So a lot of freedom, a lot of openness, and it's more about, did you make good choices in your writing situation? Rather, it's not just about whether or not the final product came together well, just in terms of like the research if it's not appropriate for your audience. So making good choices is important. And I guess one of the reasons I'm, focusing on that a little bit is a lot of what the digital essay is about is practice. We're not all going to be professional designers at the end. The goal is kind of to play with things and practice making choices. So the thinking behind the essay is more important than the execution. If you choose safe methods that I guess come out as what we would consider like very typical features of a good essay, but it doesn't practice what we're working on. It wouldn't be appropriate for your audience, things like that. It might have been safe and easy, but it's not gonna get as good of a grade as one that really took some risks. So a couple things we're going to be working on with this essay. We are going to be sort of like working on you establishing your own writing situation. This is rhetorical knowledge, like thinking about your own purpose, your own audience, making some of your own genre and design choices and taking ownership of that, composing an academic argument and recognizing that from a popular argument, making organization choices, using sources in different ways, applying strategies to select effective quoted material. We've talked a little bit about that already, how to correctly frame. This is a big one. Framing your research and synthesizing sources. We're going to talk about rhetorical appeals and making your own rhetorical choices based on those 5 modes. We are going to work on digital tools and design elements, so you're not going to be I'm not just going to toss you to the wolves on that and say go design. We're going to talk a little bit about that too. And working on, again, like I mentioned this already in this presentation, balancing objective with subjective tone, avoiding being balanced, like knowing when to be objective or not be objective, but when to use that objective tone when you're talking about your work and when it's okay to be engaging and to add analysis, and how to balance it so that your analysis is not biased. So really kind of playing with that and addressing concerns of other perspectives in fair ways.